Hey, welcome back. This is Goku-san DBZ. I decided this time for comic book pickups to try a different way of recording rather than doing like I normally do, setting up and then showing. I thought I'd try it this way. Plus, since I've got lighting, does better with my phone recording this way. That way, you get better lighting overall and a little bit better quality picture. With that said, first up we have from Boom Comics issue 34 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. As you see, really like the coloration and overall design of the artwork on the cover is very nice and very well done. And as you can see, we see multiple Rangers from different eras. I mean, you have from Ninja Storm, you have from Space, Zeo, that's from Lost Galaxy. But yeah. And yeah, as you can see, the coloration, that's one thing I'll say about these Mighty Morphin Power Ranger comics, is the way they use the colors and everything is very well done. I love the artwork in these comics from Boom Studios. Next up, we have issue 16 from IDW, of course, Star Wars Adventures, which I honestly think storytelling-wise has been better than most of the Marvel done Star Wars comics. Marvel, for the most part, does a better job on the artwork than IDW does, but they go for a little bit more of a family-friendly, more cartoony style, obviously, with the artwork for the Star Wars Adventures. It's to appeal to really a younger fan base, I feel, or build a young fan base. It's actually quite smart. Still, some elements in these comics are actually pretty good, honestly. When you look at things, details like designs of B8, actually really good, I think, overall on that. Even though I don't care too much on the more cartoony looks, as I said, storytelling-wise, that's where these comics actually excel in, is on the actual writing. Next, we have, as you see, issue 3 of Solo, a Star Wars story, obviously a comic book adaptation of course, the movie, which is very underrated, I might add. It deserves a little more respect than it gets. As you can see, for the most part, as I've said, artwork-wise for Marvel is really good, and you can tell that with this particular comic for one. The artwork is pretty well done. I like a lot of the lighting done in this. I like for instance, how they do the shades with the yellows and things. It really does help certain elements stick out better in the backgrounds. Next up, we have of the last Star Wars for the week. We have issue 25, of course, the newer Star Wars Vader. And once again, a very well done cover. It's one thing I will say, Marvel has been killing it with their covers of the comic book issues. I just love, and for the most part, all of the Vader covers and artwork has been done very well, and I think the Vader comics, for the most part, have been probably the best well-written current Marvel comics, at least Star Wars-wise. Of course, we see here like a little flashback, actually, of sorts, which is kind of cool right there. Of course, that's a harken back to the actual, like, one of the covers for Episode 1 of Phantom Menace, showing the background, obviously, of what Anakin will eventually become. Now, this is actually cool. I haven't read this yet because I just picked these up a few hours ago from my local comic book shop. We see here where it looks like actually he was just dreaming. And by the way, I want to quickly say, one thing that stands out to me about the artwork on this particular Vader design It's very much a harken back design wise to actually the Vader designs from like the 90s comics done by Dark Horse, which I felt was when Star Wars was at peak in comic book writing, was when Dark Horse was doing it. Then we see here like a little harken back to actually from like episode, well, between 2 and 3, obviously. And then we have this, which is a moment from actually Star Wars Rebels TV show, which actually is really good and I highly recommend it. As you can see, the artwork is superb. But I may do a little bit of sort of a review or a look in the future of the overall issue. Now, this is my only regular Marvel, and unfortunately, there will be no comic books being released next week. Because of course, next Monday being Christmas, obviously, for most people. And, of course, all the issues have this special thing in memory of Stan Lee, founder of Marvel. And then this right here. Rest in peace, Stan Lee. You are an amazing man who really helped a lot of us through hard times with comics. As you can see here, one thing I've noticed with a lot of the more recent like Spider-Man stuff is the colors are very vibrant. And a lot of the Spider-Man stuff, of course, there you see JJ. And the more classic style Kingpin, I remember like close style, much more of like the 90s Spider-Man animated series. It's kind of a cool sort of like harken back art design wise. Next, we have a couple of comics actually pick up for a friend of mine. I get comics for him because he does always get a chance. First of stuff actually for him, issue 14 of Justice League. Very sweet cover. It's one thing I'll say. DC's been having some really good covers as of late. Next, we have actually a special variant cover for one of the new comics. This is issue 1 of Freedom Fighters. And yeah, that's a pretty cool cover, I will say. It definitely stood out to me. And you can expect over the next few days, I'm going to try to record, since I'm backlogged on 2 comic book pickup episodes I still need to record and do. I'm going to try to do over the next few days. And yeah, there we see advertisement for the return of Young Justice. Next, we have issue 55 of Nightwing, which is one of the comics I picked up, one of the few DC comics I currently still collect. One thing I like about this particular art style design on certain elements here, it very much harkens back to more like the 1990s on certain elements. Like a little bit more brutality in other elements. Interestingly, actually, the paper they use on this comic also reminds me more of the type of paper from like the 80s and 90s, interestingly enough. Next, we have issue 3 of the newer Lucifer series, which they're going for a completely different art style on these newer comics. Also, by the way, as a special holiday gift to everyone, next week I have a very special comic book review actually coming soon. So stay tuned for that. It's something to look forward to. And the last pickup this week, issue 292 of Spawn. And tell me if that is not just one of the most beautiful, badass covers ever. That's one thing I'll say, whenever Todd McFarlane's involved in, of course, Spawn, you can always expect really well done covers. And I like the art style they're been going with as of late with the comics. It feels more like the late 90s Spawn, art design wise. Now look at that right there, that art. That's how you do a 2-page. Just the detail involved in everything right there. But anyways, I'll get ready. Take care of this episode of Comic Book Pickups, and I'll close it off on this wonderful piece of art right here. And I'll see y'all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel, and happy holidays to everyone.